I get loads of people ask me about my sourdough bread making, so I just wanted to do a little video on what I do. It's nothing fancy at all. I use a method called Artisan Bread in 5 minutes a day, and they have a website that has their full like master recipe and stuff on it. We bought the book a bunch of years ago now, but I like tweaked it so that I could make it with sourdough and sourdough starter instead of like a commercial yeast, which is what the normal artisan bread calls for. So if you've got either one of those, you can make it too. So the first thing that you do is you put 6 cups of flour in. This is the Tupperware thing. This is the magical bread Tupperware. I'm sure it would work in anything else, any like food safe thing that has got enough space for what you're making. But you put in 6 cups of flour and you do what's called the scoop and sweep method. So I take my flour, you scoop up a bit of it, you wash your hands before you do this, you sweep off the top, and that is 1 cup. So you're not sifting or anything like that. So you want to do 6. Let me see if I can talk and count to 6 at the same time. That's 3, 4, 5, 6. So that's and it's just regular all-purpose flour. So 6 cups of flour. And it's kind of like 6.5. So I don't even get a half a cup. I just get a bit more. So 6.5 cups of flour. And then you want a tablespoon of salt. And even if you don't think you like your bread salty, it really, like I've forgotten the salt before and it matters. You want to put the salt in. It's not very good if you don't have the salt in. If you are using commercial yeast, you're going to put in a tablespoon of yeast as well right now. And then you just want to mix it so the salt and the flour and your yeast, if you've got yeast in there, are just mixed together just for 1 second. And then you're going to add 3 cups of water. If it's warm water, your sourdough bread will your bread will rise faster. If it's cold water, it will just rise a little bit more slowly. But it's either one is fine. And I just mix it enough so that it's incorporated. Like this is real time. It was not pre-done. I'm just mixing it enough so that like all the water and all of the bread or all of the flour is kind of coated. So at this point, if you were doing it with the commercial yeast, you are done. If you are, and you're just gonna put a cover on it. If you are doing it with the sourdough starter, and this sourdough starter came immediately just out of the refrigerator. I haven't fed it, I haven't done anything. I opened the fridge door and set it right here. I do everything with tons of precise measurements, about that much. I just dump out whatever was in my sourdough jar so that it's just got the little bit around the sides, and then I put a cup of flour and some water in here and stir it up and stick it back in the fridge. And then when I want to use it later, there's enough just on the side to go for it. So that is the entirety of how much of the sourdough culture you want to put in it. And so then I just stir mine again. This dough is supposed to be a little more liquidy, or like a slight bit wetter than a standard bread dough. So if you're looking at it and you're thinking, there wasn't quite enough liquid to kind of get all of the flour incorporated, add a little squirt more liquid to make that how you wanted it to be, to make it that sort of texture of just slightly wet bread dough. So that's what it looks like, just slightly wet bread dough. And then I just scrape the extra off my spoon. I take the lid. You don't want to press it tight at all. You just set it on there and don't press it down. And you're just going to leave this on the counter until, basically with this size container, until the dough rises up to touch the lid. If it's in any other size container, until it's doubled in size. If you're using commercial yeast, it's probably going to be a couple hours. If you're using sourdough, like I often leave this overnight. Just leave it sitting on the counter. When it touches the lid, then you're ready to use it. You either stick it in the fridge at that point if you're going to use it later, or pull off a hunk and put it in the oven and bake it right then. That is how I do our sourdough bread. And I'll probably do another video once this is risen to kind of show you how I do some of the other stuff too.